Hello, it's been a very good start indeed to 2015 for Blur Group, and I'm joined by the Chief Executive Officer, Philip Letts, to take us through some of the developments that have happened so far in the year. Philip, welcome.
Hi.
First of all, though, can you just explain why it is that businesses would want to use a platform such as Blur's?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how businesses have been buying services for, hundreds of years now, it's been a very manual, it's been a very laborious and quite a limiting process. And obviously with technology today, you can do things much more efficiently. And we see some basic benefits that all of our customers get, which you get probably with many online services. One is that they get far greater choice. They get much faster and more reliable delivery. They get software that allows them to control the process. And most importantly, they gain internal efficiencies. And one of the things that we've realized, we're always researching businesses and trying to understand business trends. And we've noticed that through last year, businesses have been saying that efficiency is probably one of their number one things to get better at, through automation, through better service, through understanding their customers better. And we call that phenomenon thing called size zero, the size zero enterprise. And we've been doing a lot of research around that. And I think our platform falls into these really strong needs. And I think 2015 is a big year for enterprises getting fitter and getting more efficient.
And how do you differentiate Blur from other similar businesses?
Ultimately, we're a very broad enterprise class platform. So if you look at our peers, they would be enterprise software as a service plays, so cloud platforms such as NetSuite or Workday or Salesforce or Marketo. So big enterprise class software as a service platforms, and we are that just for the services side. So services procurement, services management, services planning, services payment, that whole process. We are the sort of ERP stack for typically very big businesses, and in that we are the market leader.
I see. And thinking about your balance sheet, there's a fair amount of cash on it. Do you have any particular plans for that?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had a very successful fundraise last year and raised actually over 22 million. We closed out at 22. We were oversubscribed, and really, the investments that we will make as we head towards our break-even path is really in three things. One is continued investment in our platform. We are, with Blur 5, which we'll be releasing through this year, we're very excited about really beginning the process to become an established ERP solution, which is enterprise resource planning, the big stack that the players like Oracle and SAP and Salesforce play in. And we can come into that stack, and we can come into that level of platform sophistication within the services angle. So first is continuing to build out our IP. Secondly is obviously continue to build out our enterprise class customers. And we have, by the end of this year, we will have 50 or 60 really large enterprise class platform, customers. And you think, players, big market cap NASDAQ players like Workday, they only have 100 enterprise customers. So we're really getting up to a very good level, which we're excited about. And then the third is the US became our largest market last year by volume, and so we'll be making some investments in growing out the US market, which is obviously key for any enterprise software company.
And thinking of your growth path in the future, I understand you're planning to be cash flow break-even in about a year from now. Where do you see yourselves in 3 years' time?
In 3 years' time, we'll be a very profitable and I think a very highly valued and respected market leader, and a business that people understand that it sits within this framework. I think there's a lot of conversation right now in the business technology community around where enterprise resource planning platforms are going. We're obviously moving away from the slightly old-fashioned on-premise license-based and maintenance model, which was obviously the preserve of the Oracle Oracles and the SAPs and a few others. And now we're obviously going into the software as a service. We're seeing cloud players, and some of them I've mentioned. And I think Blur will absolutely take its place amongst these leading cloud players and create a new enterprise resource planning stack that we will obviously be the services element of. But I think also we'll go beyond that, because one of the things that Blur has always done, even though it's it's one of the few European head office players, pretty much all the other major players we've talked about, other than obviously SAP, are very much US leaders. But I think we've still always shown an ability to lead. We created and led in the term, business-to-business crowdsourcing, and coined it expert sourcing, which is obviously a key component of the service providers that sit on our software platform. We also, came up with the idea of services-based ERP and fitting into the stack that way, and I think that will be important as we go forward. And I think lastly, one of the pieces that is perhaps less understood, but I think in 3 years will be very understood, is that we take software as a service to its next level, and some would say to the purest form of business software charging, which is software as a transaction, so that you pay for the software bundled into the transaction. And that is a very new concept. It's a concept that we've coined, we've created, and I think in 3 years' time, people will talk about software as a transaction as the future of business software.
And a very interesting future. But to finish off, looking into the very recent past, you've had your two biggest deals, I understand, to date in the last 2 weeks. Can you talk us through both of them, please?
Yeah, I mean, we've been making announcements for the last 4 or 5 months about steadily talking about how blue chips are increasingly adopting our platform and at quite a pace. I mean, it was only a year ago that we were acquiring, or just over a year ago that we were acquiring a blue chip every few months, and then it became a new blue chip coming, adopting our platform on a monthly basis, and then all of a sudden, as we went through, latter phases of Q3 last year, it became pretty much a new enterprise adopting the platform on a weekly basis, and that for any enterprise software company, that's an impressive rate. So, the last two announcements, the new announcements are always exciting, but I think they just take their place in a steady build that we've been seeing over the last, 12 months in particular. I mean, our first enterprise customer came onto our platform about 2 years ago, and we spent that year really understanding how to manage the service levels, how to make sure that our platform can really cater for larger projects that are naturally more complex, more sophisticated. There's more players involved, both bigger service providers as well as obviously bigger buyers on the enterprise side, and also building out the features that are required. You need a lot more planning. So a lot more planning. You need a lot more notifications in the system. You need a lot more sophisticated billing and multi-billing to multi parties. And I think with Blur 4.0 we really got there. And so as we now we're just rolling out Blur 4.0 into more and more enterprises, and I think we will see a steady flow of big names coming onto the platform, and as a result they won't just do it for smaller projects, which is how an enterprise typically starts with us. They'll start building up bigger projects as well, and the last two are examples of that.
Yeah, because one will run for the next 4 years and the other for the next 2.
Correct.
And presumably there's scope for either one, possibly both, to actually lead to more things.
Yeah, I mean, bigger projects are by nature more strategic to any customer, because they make a real difference to their business. And so, it doesn't matter if you're the biggest FMCG or one of the biggest FMCGs in the world. If you're, certainly the project we announced this morning, that's an important project for them. And these projects have a way of developing and expanding, and also there's other projects that, come alongside it. So for us, it's just, it's a beginning of an important process for us to absolutely get right with our enterprise customers. It's all about service and great support. Our software platform, I think, really is there, and I think it is a world-class platform now. But, it's also critical. It's, we love our software, but our people are just as important, if not even more important.
Well, interesting times for Blur Group. Thank you very much. If you'd like any more information, please do look at the Edison website.